Big stories we're following is the Democratic Alliance. Well, they've marched to the office of the finance minister. The party is accusing government of not doing enough to mitigate the economic crisis, going as far as to say that the rising food costs are causing significant hardship for many families in our country. Also saying that some families even struggling to put food on the table. They have handed over a memorandum of demands to the finance minister's office, I understand. Bafedile Moerane, eNCA reporter, you're there for us. Give us a sense of, has it actually happened and what were those demands?
Well, certainly they have now handed over a memorandum to the office of the Minister of Finance. The office of the Minister has sent a Deputy Director General to receive that memorandum on the behalf of the Minister. But however, Democratic Alliance is saying that this government is capable of meeting the poor South Africans and the working class halfway by setting aside some funds for food. So they are saying that at this point in time, they are hoping that next week, Wednesday, when the minister tables the mid-budget speech in Parliament, he will consider their call. But to get more perspective as to what does exactly Democratic Alliance mean by this, I am going to be joined by the DA Shadow Minister, Dion George. Thank you so much for joining us at eNCA. I want us to give us a perspective, paint a clear picture for us as to what is it that you mean when you say that the minister should set aside some funds as part of meeting the poor South Africans and the working class halfway.
Well, as we all know, that the minister is going to be tabling his mid-year budget on Wednesday, and there is in fact a lot of room for him to move. What we are saying is that South Africans are hungry and more South Africans are actually starving, and that's not acceptable in a rich country such as South Africa. So what we're asking the minister to do is to cut VAT on a number of additional food items in the basket that the poorest 50% of households buy. Also, we want the minister to cut the fuel tax, because it is possible, because that would make petrol less expensive and would also then bring down the price of food. So those are the two very small isolated items that we want the minister to do. Now already we're mid-year through the year, so if you take the next 6 months, this is very much affordable. There is going to be an under collection of revenue this year because our economy didn't grow, because government hasn't put in the most effective policies. But even so, there is enough money to provide the relief. Government does not have to give money to the state-owned enterprises, never-ending bailouts. It doesn't have to waste money as it does now, for example, on blue light brigades and various other places that it's just wasted. It's not acceptable when South Africans are starving. So in our country that is rich, nobody should be starving. And what we're saying is he can do this, he can do this immediately, and he can do it Wednesday. So on Wednesday he can announce, I'm going to make the food price less expensive for people by cutting the VAT on things such as bone-in chicken, beef, tin beans, margarine, wheat flour, tea, coffee, baby food, peanut butter, margarine. He can do that. And he's not doing anything because government doesn't care. Government has just abandoned the people when they're hungry. And that's the problem. The people are here to say, well, you know what? We're tired of being left behind. You can't have hungry people in this country. We are rich, and government must do the right things. And if it can't do that, well, they must get out of the way, and let's get another government that can actually do that. And that opportunity is going to come. So next week, there is going to be the medium-term budget policy statement. We are going to present our alternative on Monday, and we're setting out various things we expect the minister to do. For example, to grow the economy, to address the energy crisis, to sort out the debt crisis that we're in, to support the vulnerable, and this is part of it, and then also to fight the corruption and help those institutions to be able to do that, because our country is in crisis. So we need to rescue that. We need to rescue South Africa from the broken government that is getting in the way of development and causing people to starve. It's not acceptable.
Just recently, we've had the minister having to put some cost-cutting measures which are affecting a number of departments and local government. Do you think that he can be able to address your call at this point when when they are saying that they are having financial crisis at this point, having to implement those cost-cutting measures?
The reason why the minister has to cut now is because there isn't going to be enough money to pay for all the projects that are in the budget, because our economy hasn't grown enough, and so we're not getting the revenue. But if you look at where the minister wants to cut, he wants to cut in areas that's not going to make any difference. So he's going to cut on the periphery, going to cut travelling and conferences and things like that. But he's not cutting in the areas that really matter. So instead of giving bailouts, hundreds of billions of rands of bailouts to Eskom, when you can in fact get the private sector to support that entity and start getting more energy into the grid. You don't have to. Government does not have to pay all of that money, but it won't change the model. So there's more than enough space. So what we're saying to the minister is, you don't actually need to cut if you apply the people's money properly. And even if you're running short of money, you have to make provision for the people that are starving, because that's not okay. So government is going to have to make the right choices and cut in the right places. So instead of the bailouts and the waste that they never ever stop, what needs to happen is we need to look and see what is required for the people in South Africa that are starving. The 350 Rand base support for the social distress grant, that is not budgeted for next year. So the money has to come from somewhere. But there's more than enough money to pay for it. But government must make the right choices, and it hasn't done that. It looks after itself, it looks after its cronies, it looks after the broken model where it's got itself in the center of our economy. It must get out of the way, let our economy grow, let entrepreneurs flourish. That's what's needed, and that's what we're telling the minister, and that we will never give up on that. We will keep on going. We were here last year, and we keep on coming, because now is the time for action.
Well, thank you so much, Dion George there. He is the DA Shadow Minister for Finance, and they are expecting the minister to address their call there, Gareth, by Wednesday, when the minister will be tabling a mid-term budget in Parliament in Cape Town. But however, he has highlighted a number of challenges that South Africans are facing. They want the minister also to tackle the issue of electricity, among others, which remains a serious crisis at this point in time. So the memorandum, as I indicated, it has been accepted at this point, and the representative indicating that he will make sure that that memorandum reaches the minister. So at this point, the members of DA are still gathering here, carrying placards, having to chant slogans and hoping that their message will be received this time around, because they are saying that it is not the first time coming down here. Even last year, they were here trying to raise the same issues or challenges.